After a month's break, Mithila and I are back with this week's episode of The Inside Line. And what a start we've had to the 2016 Formula One season. If anything is to go by, the qualifying was absolutely a disaster.
My God.
And Formula One got damn lucky that they had a phenomenal race to save its face.
Kunal, it was the most brilliant race that I can remember in recent times. In fact, I think it was more exciting than all the races from last year put together.
I will agree with that. So a lot of people could debate that we had the same podium in Australia as well. We had both the Mercedes drivers and Sebastian Vettel.
That is what we predicted as well in our podcast.
Yes, but I must tell you that none of the drivers were gifted their positions in Australia. Every single driver had to work hard for it.
Kunal, no one could have predicted how this race could have panned out. But on that note, we've had a brilliant start to the season, and Kunal and I are extremely excited to know what the season ahead holds.
Yes.
So here are 10 things that we will be looking out for most eagerly as 2016 progresses.
So the first on my list is qualifying.
Oh.
I have no idea who signed off the disastrous elimination-based qualifying system, but I am just absolutely happy that for a change, Formula One listened to its fans and scrapped the system at the first race itself.
Thank God. I am so relieved we don't have to go through the ordeal of that qualifying again.
Yeah, I don't know who could make sense of it. I think a few drivers were confused. The TV commentators...
A few drivers.
The TV commentators for sure were confused. I'm just glad that from Bahrain, we will go back to the old system.
Old school is a good thing sometimes. So 2016 brings with it a radio clampdown, which means that teams and drivers will not be able to communicate as freely as they could in 2015. So while we really miss, the radio exchanges of Kimi Raikkonen and Fernando Alonso,
they'll have to work harder to make their presence felt.
Oh, for sure. The silver lining of the radio clampdown is that it promises to make races more exciting. And the other part is that drivers will now have to use a very old school technique of actually putting post-it notes, Kunal.
Yes, and it seems that Lewis Hamilton at Australia was very evident on his radio. So he asked his engineer on radio, listen, there's an alarm ringing and I don't know how to shut it down.
My God.
And the engineer couldn't help him. Well, all I can hope is that Lewis didn't press the snooze button.
But Kunal, back to the post-it notes we were talking about. So the inside line is extremely lucky. We've gotten our hands on some of these super secret post-it notes that drivers have been putting onto their dashboards with the purpose of guiding them through the race journey.
So the first post-it is of a driver who we will leave for our viewers to guess. It's pretty simple. I'm going to just read the note out. It reads, beat Lewis.
No prizes for guessing that one.
Wait a minute. I have one more, which is also, now that we know, from Nico Rosberg. Beat Lewis.
Beat Lewis. Nico Rosberg's mantra for this season, I'm sure. Well, I have one more. This is from Nico Hulkenberg, the other Nico on the grid. It says, Hulk mode on! Hulk smash! We saw a little bit of that at the Australian Grand Prix.
Oh yes. He was the only Force India driver to score points, which is always good for the team. So the next one that I have got my hands on is of a former quadruple world champion trying to emulate a former 7 times world champion. No wonder the post-it reads, Schumacher mode on.
The next post-it note is from my favourite driver on the grid, none other than Kimi Raikkonen. And Kunal, his post-it note reads, hey, there's free champagne on the podium. No wonder he was so motivated to race at the Grand Prix.
So the last post-it is from a driver called Pastor Maldonado, the one who has a lot of notes. Post-it as well as Venezuelan dollars. The only thing is, he doesn't have a car to put them on.
After 2 years of Mercedes dominance, all of us have been hoping that Ferrari finally fights back this season.
Yes.
And fingers crossed, Australia seems to have good news for us. A Ferrari versus Mercedes battle finally seems to be on the cards.
Yes, so in qualifying, the Mercedes were miles ahead, okay? But in the race, I think when Vettel was leading and Rosberg was trying to follow, the gap pretty much kept increasing the Sebastian Vettel way for a large part of the race, which is very positive signs.
The Ferraris had a great start, Kunal. What are your views about that?
I think it was just Mercedes accepting that they had bad starts. Formula One has 3 new rookies in 2016. There's Pascal Wehrlein, there's Jolyon Palmer, and there's Rio Haryanto. Okay, in my view, Haryanto could well go on to become the next Pastor Maldonado.
Are you hoping so, Kunal, for the sake of humor in the sport?
He went and proved this himself in FP3, which is Free Practice 3 in Melbourne. He had an incident with Romain Grosjean in the pit lane, and he was awarded 2 penalty points and a grid pace penalty.
And the dubious honor of being the next Pastor Maldonado. Bring it on.
The other driver is Pascal Wehrlein, a Mercedes junior driver, very highly rated, although he got out-qualified by Rio Haryanto in qualifying.
But he did as well as he could in a manner, I guess. Not bad.
And lastly, we have Jolyon Palmer. I think the best thing that Jolyon Palmer could do is be the next Max Verstappen.
McLaren continue to push hard this season, and they actually showed some pretty decent pace in Australia.
Yes, no points, but good pace.
And good reliability too, which was a major concern for them last year.
Absolutely.
GP2 engine. But still, Kunal, I don't quite think this is where the team wants to be.
Well, let me put it the other way. The team surely isn't where they shouldn't be. The one team which is already where they should be is Haas Racing. You could argue that they got lucky in Australia, but they scored points on their debut and they beat teams like Force India already.
And this was after starting pretty much at the back of the grid. So great show by Haas Racing. Good job, guys.
Keep it up. We really need a competitive midfield, even more so.
Our favourite part of last year was the teammate battle between Hamilton and Rosberg. Actually, it was more like warfare last year. And we're so eagerly looking forward to what Hamilton and Rosberg have in store for us this season.
But the one teammate battle I am really looking for is between Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz.
My God, they were at it already in Melbourne.
Yes, both of them in the second season with Toro Rosso. And let's remember, with a lot of cockpits that could be available in 2017, both of them are driving to claim either of those cockpits.
Kunal, I'm also hoping against all odds that Kimi can pose some sort of a challenge to Vettel.
A true Kimi Raikkonen fan, isn't she?
Fingers crossed.
Formula One finally has a tyre strategy which is making racing interesting and unpredictable without having tyres blow up all over the places. So in Australia, we saw teams use the ultra soft, the soft, and the mediums.
Correct. So had Mercedes used the soft compound tyre in Melbourne, it would have been an extremely predictable strategy. So we're just glad that they used the medium ones instead.
Yes, a big thumbs up from us.
Good job.
For 3 tyre compounds each race.
Max Verstappen certainly seems to be everyone's favourite, ours included. He's shown immense talent and my God, he's certainly been nailing those overtakes.
He did a phenomenal race in Australia. He had his career best starting grid position already.
And Kunal, only a sign of great things to come, I guess.
Yes, but I must admit, he also showed a lot of arrogance in Australia. But guess what? Talent plus arrogance is what you need to become a multiple world champion.
Lewis Hamilton.
And last but not the least, but the man who is always pretty much on pole position, Lewis Hamilton, is our top person to look out for in 2016.
Not surprised.
And no, this isn't only about whether he will be able to defend and win his 4th World Championship title.
Kunal, I am curious to know, what colour will he dye his hair next?
I think I would want to know, when is he going to release his next single?
Do you think he's going to get a new dog?
Or Who is he now going to date?
Do you think he's going to teach his dogs to take selfies? Do you think he'll be wearing sunglasses and braces as we predicted, Kunal?
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the post-Australian Grand Prix.
Oh wait, what party will he be crashing next?
Or which car is he going to crash next?
Into next.
On that note, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you hopefully next week if Mithila is ready to record.
I'm always ready to record. See you.